South Florida MMA wrestling training is in great shape with great coaching, and that's because people like Steve Mocco is here at American Top Team, delivering his top-notch brand of wrestling skill development for adults and kids. And this is Mocco Wrestling at American Top Team. And the tradition is extending to his two sons, Peter and Michael. And both are doing well on the tournament circuit as well as at Coral Springs Charter School Wrestling. So first of all, thank you all so much, Mocco Wrestling family. This is an honor and a privilege for me, so I want to thank you first of all for that. And Steve, I want you to talk about Mocco Wrestling and American Top Team, because we know award-winning American Top Team and all the great fighters that are here, trained champions and all, and you've worked with so many of them. But it also extends itself to the youth level. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about Mocco Wrestling.
Yeah, I came down in 2012 after the Olympic Games. First experience with Florida. We love it. You know, we left Pennsylvania to come here. I'm from New Jersey, but we bounced around, coaching at the college level and wrestling myself. And then we wound up here, right? And we wound up with American Top Team, which is like...
Well, Steve, how did that happen too? Because you were at the Olympics, and if I'm not mistaken, you placed at the Olympics as well.
Yeah.
7th place?
Yeah, I was 7th place, and then now I'm actually, there's a couple people tested positive, so I'm 5th.
Good for you. Yeah. And maybe I was just going to say, if you get up to 3rd, maybe you get the medal too.
Yeah.
But 7th, 5th, what an accomplishment to be one of the best in the world there. So you're done with your career. You knew, okay, I'm not going to wrestle anymore per se at that level. So you wanted to get into coaching, or how did that fall into place?
I came down here to train MMA, and I stayed on to coach after my MMA career. Kind of like I was going to go back to college coaching, but then I stayed on to coach MMA here. It was really good. I talked to Dan Lambert. He's the owner, and it was a smooth transition, and I've been doing it ever since. I think that was in like 2015. Along that time, like right when I made the switch over from competing to coaching, kind of had these guys were coming up, and we went to a few different clubs in the area, and they do a great job. But we thought we'd like try to do one in house, you know, like originally for kids that did jiu-jitsu, because back then it was pretty. There wasn't as much crossover training. It was like jiu-jitsu kids and wrestling kids. They both started with jiu-jitsu and then wanted to get them into sport wrestling. So we opened up Mocco Wrestling Club, and that was 2015, I think. And we've been doing it ever since. 2016, we've been doing it ever since. You know.
Did you think at one point too during your career that was going to lend itself that you were going to coach?
I mean, before I started fighting, I was coaching. I was coaching at the University of Lehigh. I got into MMA because I came out of retirement. I needed partners. I found some guys that fought that had wrestled. Got to know them a little bit by training wrestling with them. It was Carmelo Morero he fought for American Top Team. So it was a really small world, you know. He wrestled at Ryder. He was a Pennsylvania guy, and that's how I met. That was like my introduction to MMA, you know. But I had been coaching before that. So I always just assumed I would be a coach, a wrestling coach, you know. Always, so God willing, that's how it's played out. You know?
And when you got here to American Top Team, how much have you seen it grown from when you got here to the giant that it is now?
I mean, American Top Team is a special place. You know, we have fighters from all over the world that come in here. We have coaches from all over the world, best guys in their fields. I'm honored to be a part of it. I think it's every day I come into work, it's like, you know, it's like my dream job. I get to like talk over technique and positions with all these awesome people, coach top of the line athletes that are whether they came up through the program or been here the whole time. So I mean, it's super special place for us as a family and just for me personally.
Did you know right away that after you were here starting to train others that American Top Team was going to be very interested in having you come on full time, or you were not sure you were going to be here for full time?
No, it really wasn't. It wasn't like something that it kind of happened organically, and thank God it did, because we were real happy about it.
Now, your two sons and their involvement in wrestling, and we were talking a little bit before that Michael did play a little football.
He did.
Youth league level.
Youth league level.
I don't know if Peter played any football.
Peter did as well. Peter played for the Rangers.
Parkland Rangers?
Yeah.
Parkland Rangers youth football,
Yeah.
their tournament and all, or their program and everything, and then I know Coral Springs has, I believe, the Chargers.
Yeah, he
Their
played
youth
for the Chargers, and he
football
also
program.
played for the Rangers.
And the boys now are wrestling, which is something that, okay, when did they start? How old were they when they started? And was it something they took to right away?
No, I mean, it's not. Wrestling's one of those sports that, you got to earn it. And they're doing a great job earning it. Like, it's very exciting for me to watch them develop from, they're still grammar school level, but they take it serious, and really proud of both of them. But they started, how old were you when you started?
I think like 7.
Probably
6.
7, and Michael was probably 8 or not, or because there's less than 2 years between them. They pretty much started. Peter has a little advantage on this because he kind of followed Michael, so he'll get extra years at the end of it. So he's been around.
He gets extra years, extra training.
Yeah. Do you remember when you started? It was, what was it, 8 or 9?
It was like 8.
8, yeah, 8.
So now, whatever accomplishes he does, you're going to do your own thing. But it's like, oh man, now maybe I could set the bar even higher or go from there. I was curious, Peter, what do you like about wrestling and competing in tournaments and school too?
I just like the feel of it and like how it is when you win, and like how you can get better over time.
And what about the workouts and the training? I watched all of you working out there and all, and it's a pretty intense thing at all the different age levels. And what is it like just putting that time and that work in?
It's pretty hard.
Harder than, have you played any other sports? So it's just football and just wrestling, or have you played other sports
I've
too?
done football, jiu-jitsu, and lacrosse and wrestling. And
Would you-
so far, wrestling was the hardest.
How about for you, Michael? What has it been like just training and preparing and I guess falling in love with the sport?
It's hard. It's hard to find.
How much do you enjoy this and just the passion? Because I know you're not much of a talker, but you let your actions speak out here on the mat. But for you, just how much love do you have for this sport and trying to be the best?
A lot. I have a lot. A lot of emotion.
Last season, as a 7th grader, I think this is important to say too, as a 7th grader you did very well, and now as an 8th grader, you are wrestling varsity for Coral Springs Charter. The BCAA tournament, you were one of the most outstanding wrestlers, and usually juniors and seniors are doing that, and you, as an 8th grader, was able to win that award. What was it like competing in that tournament and also just getting that accomplishment?
It was awesome. It was like a big tournament. It was like a lot of fans and stuff.
How do you block all that out when you're on the mat?
I don't know. It just happens. Like naturally, I guess.
What are your thoughts of this season and how far you would want to take it? District tournament is coming up soon. I know you guys have a tough district. I think your district and I think district down in Miami South-Dade, which may be a different classification, but is also a very tough district. But just what are your thoughts of how far you want to take it this year? What goals have you set for yourself for this season?
I want to be a state champ this year.
And as an 8th grader, Steve, and he's both boys, very good size for them and all. What is it like just seeing him go up against the older kids and doing as well as he's been doing so far?
It's important, like stepping out of the role of his father. I'm very proud of him as a father. But as a coach, it's very important for me to see his development and treating the kids as like he's supposed to be there. He's supposed to score. His setups are supposed to work because he has put in the time. He has did the reps. Not really too worried about the end of the year results. I think this is a great year for him to build himself up, and it's kind of like you could see. I mean, for me looking at you, it looks like you're having a lot of fun out there, and that's what I'm concerned about. And it seems like we're having fun when we're scoring, and that's my goal. As this coach, I want him to score points. If he wins matches, that's great, but I want him scoring points.
Technique. Is it a lot about technique and just looking to see how he's performing, how he's competing in that match, more so than, like you said, the wins and losses?
Yeah, as long as he's like performing to the best of his ability and he's representing himself the way he prepares, I'll be happy with it.
How do you like it at Coral Springs Charter School too, and the program that they're building over there?
And we really enjoy it. We really enjoy it. We were in the other middle school, and we went to there, and it was a great deal because they could wrestle. Before they couldn't wrestle. Like last year, this is his first year in Coral Springs Charter. Last year, I mean, obviously it wasn't normal because of the COVID thing.
Yeah.
So the competitions were sparse. But last year he had maybe 10 matches. This year we were counting it up this weekend. He's already had 40 matches between the JV and the preseason and the varsity matches that he had wrestled. He doesn't always wrestle because there's another boy there, a senior, that's one of the team captains and stuff. But there's certain matches that he steps up and wrestles. Man, and he's had over 40 matches this year, where like they wouldn't be getting that had they been wrestling in the or you know, club wrestling and just staying in the middle school. So for us, it was like a blessing. You know, we're super pumped about it.
Who's coaching at Coral Springs Charter? And Coach was out here too, helping out. And
Yeah, Coach Eric Perez is the head coach there. I mean, and most of the team comes to the club. You know, obviously they're at practice every day there. It's been phenomenal, and he's a great coach. Like I feel very capable. Like this weekend, it was a pretty big event, the race, and I had to go to a fight. I couldn't be there.
Orlovsky was fighting, right?
Yes, Orlovsky fought, but I mean, having him there with the coaching staff and his training partners and his teammates, I felt like he was well covered, and I was very comfortable with that.
Peter, what's it been like for you? JV season, and JV had a big tournament, I believe, as well.
Yeah,
Recently, was this past weekend maybe that they had the JV tournament and all? How did that go for you? And
I took third, and I went 4-1 at it.
Broward County Championships.
Yeah.
what is it like for you getting in there and just being a part of the school team
Pretty fun.
and representing Coral Springs Charter?
It's pretty fun, like going back to school and like saying you won and stuff against high schoolers.
What are the goals for, I guess, next year and the year after? Is varsity on your horizon possibly next year or maybe in 2 years?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go varsity next year. I hope so.
Coach Steve, this is amazing too, both young men, that they're able to compete as well as they have, and both of them shining on the high school varsity level and all. How do you keep the boys grounded? They seem very respectful and very grounded, but just how do you keep them grounded from not letting success go to the heads?
I tell them all the time, it's like very relative, you know, like you can have a lot of success at a certain level and that changes quick when you step up to the next level, and there's always a level above where you're at. So I mean, like, unless you're in here doing the work where your nose to the grindstone, you're eventually going to run across someone who does do that work, you know. So they've been both pretty good about like working hard and training. I usually don't have to get on them too hard about it, and they both seem pretty motivated. So I mean, as long as they're coming in here and getting their work in and they're taking it seriously, then I'll take it seriously, you know. And I think both of them are taking the sport serious, so I'm looking to challenge them and have them develop as wrestlers.
Michael, who's been helping you coaching-wise too, training you and all, out here or even at the school? Who are some of the people that have put the time in to help you?
Everybody. I mean, a lot of coaches help me. College guys come in and help me. Fighters come in and help me. Like, a lot of people help me.
We actually had a couple kids that wrestled for the club a few years back that come back that still live in family, still live in town, like Dimitri Naomi wrestled for West Boca, and Alex now he's starting his fighting career. He comes in and helps Michael as well. We've been pretty lucky to have people in the room that could push him. So like that hasn't been a problem, and they're good about teaching him and working with him, building him up and breaking him down as well. So we've been pretty happy about it.
I noticed that out there with Mocco Wrestling, that yes, coaches and those that have wrestled in the past are out here helping all the kids develop and all. Is that something that you always wanted to do when you first started it?
We do, and I didn't even think about it, but it's hard to run a practice with, you know, 30 kids in it if you're one person. So like our club is very very reliant on help, and we've had great people that come in. We've had so many great people that come in over the years, and that to this day keep coming back. And a lot of them are ex-wrestlers, and some of them are just not necessarily ex-Mocco club wrestlers, but people that had a good experience with the sport that are working out here and want to give back. You know, Kevin Brown is he's been with us now since Michael, I guess since you're right, 10 years old, right? Mm-hmm. And he's been wrestling with Michael since he's about 10 years old. And now you can score on him sometimes, right? But he makes you pay for it after, but you can't score on him, you know, which is kind of cool to watch. I don't know if it's Michael's getting better, if Kevin's getting older, but something's happening. Right?
Maybe it's both. As they do.
Yeah. But no, we've had great guys. You know, we've over the years we've had a lot of good guys that came and helped out.
What do you want to grow with Mocco Wrestling? What do you want to have happen here? I call this, by the way, I've always called this your dungeon. This room, actually. I know everybody was out in the big room training tonight and all, but actually we're I call it the dungeon. It's like you come in here, you better be ready to work and sweat.
Yeah, it's fun in here when it's like a good room with guys going hard. The mirrors are fogged up and the doors open, you know, on a hot day. It's a lot of fun. But no, our mission statement, like what we want to do is expose kids to the sport of wrestling, let them know that it's an avenue that they can compete scholastically at the level that they choose, that they can prepare to. You know, obviously we want all of our kids to wrestle in high school, and we want the kids that can to wrestle in college. And like that's been our mission statement for the beginning. It's a sport that obviously it's like kind of my life. I spent a lot of time doing it, and it's a way for me to stay plugged into it and grounded in it, because I'm kind of in the MMA world now. And I get as much out of it as we give, you know, like keeps me grounded in the wrestling fundamentals, and it also exposes a lot of the kids that wouldn't necessarily wrestle in this area to good wrestling.
That's a key, good wrestling, and get good training and all, because you have to have that to develop and make this. This is so, we can go, I won't take all the time on this, but Florida and the collegiate wrestling, it's so non-existent to have no really college wrestling in Florida, and hopefully that's going to change, because there are so many good wrestlers in Florida. The only way collegiately is if you go out of state. But Michael, I wanted to ask you, do you watch any of the college wrestling on TV? Are you a fan of it in that regard, or are you more just doing your own thing on the mat?
I'm a fan of it. I watch a lot.
What did you think of Gable Steveson, and when if you got to see when he won the Olympics and how he came back at the end in that match and all, just when you see something like that, what are your thoughts?
I didn't have any thoughts when it happened. Right? I had like a second of like nothing, and then I was like, he's good. Like he just scored in like 0.6 seconds.
It was amazing. It was just crazy.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever get to meet Gable?
I met him before. I don't know. You boys haven't met him yet. I mean, we're pretty lucky. There's a lot of good wrestlers that come through the doors. He hasn't been to the gym yet, or hasn't been around. I met him at NCAAs one year. I went as a spectator, but he's a pretty special athlete, and he's a lot of fun to watch. Most of our kids watch him. He's probably if you had to ask them who's their wrestler, that's probably who they're saying this year.
And he's a big WWE fan. He just signed with WWE. So he's doing that. And a few more questions. Look at this done. Thank you all so much. Michael, you talked about college wrestling. So for you, I know you're only in 8th grade, so you have time. But Iowa or Oklahoma State?
Oklahoma State.
See, I didn't ask you. I asked him.
It's funny that they're both born. He's born in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and he was born in Iowa City.
And I was going to ask, that's it. So, Peter, for you, is it Iowa then, or Wade, or what, or is it Oklahoma State, or don't know yet?
I think Iowa more than Oklahoma State.
Staying true to your roots, I can respect that. That's good. And for both kids, is something, Peter, I'll start with you. The Olympics, is that also like a big goal, college, and then doing something like that? And just, how far do you want to take your wrestling?
I want to take it all the way to the Olympics.
How about 2 for you, Michael?
So,
It's such a goal, and it's an achievable goal, because you see that your dad was able to achieve that, and seeing all these wrestlers that come in here and seeing what they're able to do. What is it like just to surround your kids and the other young wrestlers that are here, the students that are here, because you got elementary age, middle school aged, high school, aged wrestlers that are here, and it's open to others that want to join
Yeah.
Mocco Wrestling at American Top Team in Coconut Creek in South Florida. So what does it also mean to you to have these fighters and coaches, and you mentioned a little bit, that caliber helping everybody out?
Man, it's great. It's great for us. I mean, we have guys out, multiple-time NCAA champions out there. Bo Nichols here. He's in town. He trains under our team. And he was in town last week.
Penn State?
Yeah, Penn State. Last time he was in town, he just jumped out of the mat and started showing cradles, man. It was like, well, we've been unbelievably. I grew up in not necessarily a wrestling hotbed, but I grew up in New Jersey, and I judge like the people that walk through this door compared to like, it just doesn't really exist anywhere else. Like, you know, and the fact that it's here in Florida is like great, but these kids, man, they're very lucky, and I hope they realize how lucky they are just to be around these world-class athletes that are, and watching them to prepare, watching them the way they handle their business, how serious they are doing practices. It's just like it's a blessing.
Is MMA also, Peter, is that something you're interested in too?
Maybe.
Wait and see.
Yeah.
Same with being a right too.
Yeah, it's a different ball game altogether, because a lot of Steve, obviously, you're the expert. You're going to know much better than me, but it's difficult to be a top MMA fighter and just be one-dimensional.
Yeah, yep, it is, and it's changing. You know, like kids are starting a lot younger and preparing that way. But I mean, for us right now, I'm pushing them a lot in wrestling. You know, exposing them a little bit to it here and there. Like we've talked about it and cross-trained a little bit. But you know, for them to reach their goals that they have, I mean, even their goals for this year that they have, most of their time has to be spent developing their wrestling. Later on, if they want to fight and that's something that's in them, that's something that they'll get fulfillment out of, then I'll support them.
Michael, have you worked out with Josh Silvera?
Yeah, opponents.
Yeah, I work out with them.
What was it like there? Josh was the state champion from Cardinal Gibbons High School. I know a lot of them know he's now going to try with PFL MMA and is doing that
Josh
thing.
is a
that
great coach. He's come in numerous times and helped with these little ones, and to have a guy like that was like an NCAA qualifier, a college wrestler, a state champ, like that's one of those guys he just like, it's a blessing to have guys like this. Just he'll walk by and my daughter will be doing, he'll show her, he'll spend 20 minutes with her on technique. Same thing with him. If he's out there and he has a partner, he'll just walk, as he's walking past, walk onto the mat and be, you should try it this way, you know, talk to him about it for 20 minutes. It's great, those guys.
Both boys here, the size that you both have at your age level, your grade level, 8th grade and 6th grade. I'm trying to ask this the right way. How do you overcome that in a sense? A lot of 8th graders and a lot of 6th graders are wrestling lighter weight classes. You guys are wrestling upper weight classes. So what challenge or what experience, how has that been, and how have you been able to handle that?
It's like the same lightweight way.
Is it just through the training and because I see him training with bigger people too?
Explain to him, like, what's your thought process like when you step out of the mat?
Oh, I don't know. When you wrestle bigger guys, it's easier, right? Like, they don't move as fast, you know. I don't know
Some
how
of
to
them.
say it.
No,
Some
that
of them
is
move
good.
fast, but, like,
Yeah, but I see what you're saying. You
Yeah.
not only have the size, but you have the agility and the speed
Yeah.
to use that to your advantage and all.
So
What is
you like wrestling big guys?
Yeah.
He just seems like,
I'd
man,
rather
no
be-
nonsense.
Yeah.
He just go out there and just take care of business and then be like, yeah, you can raise my hand, all right, but no, who's next? Not in a cocky way, but in a confident way. You seem more like the social one. You'll be like, yeah. You'll be showing some emotion out there. I haven't seen you wrestle. I got to see you guys wrestle. But that's just the vibe I'm getting and all. But what is it like for you, too, being that at your age and as a 6th grader, and you're a bigger sized kid going against some older kids? And what has that been like for you?
I feel like when you go out there, you have to just like weather the storm against the bigger, stronger kids, make them like tired.
Endurance and conditioning. Always huge thing and all if you have that advantage, especially going in that third period too. So, all right, guys, I want to thank you all for taking the time to do this. This has been awesome for me. I hope we could do it again. The questions weren't that bad, I think. They were okay. I didn't tongue-tie anyone up or whatever. Now, I got to end it with this because I mentioned Gable and all. I'm curious. Are any of you guys into pro wrestling? And is that something to even look at? Or Coach Steve, is that something like, no, we don't want any of that?
Do you guys like it? You guys?
No, I don't like it.
They're traditionalists.
They
it's
just do
it's
such a
fun
good
to watch,
job.
but I mean,
Well, you see some of the reason I ask is you see some of the MMA men and women, and then Gable or whoever, you see some of the wrestlers too getting into it. That's more the entertainment. This is more the sport.
Yeah.
Right here, Mocco Wrestling at ATT.
And it's
and
entertaining. You know, they do a good job with it. You know.
Well, Dan Lambert,
He's in the AEW.
AEW, and he's been bringing
all the guys.
Junior,
Varsity, Junior.
Paige Van Zandt, Jorge Masvidal, Aston Vanderford, Dalton.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! And
Pretty
Paige
cool.
now has got a big spot she's doing with
She's
Dan now.
sliding with it, right? Yeah.
Kayla was on the show too.
She was?
on one of the shows and all. So I'm wondering if Dan Lambert comes up to the Mocco dynasty and says, "Hey, come on, let's get on the jet. We're going to AEW. Are you guys all right with that?
Yeah,
One time, maybe once."
Yeah, maybe once.
Yes. Coach Steve, tell us if anyone's interested in Mocco Wrestling, American Top Team, how they can find out more about it.
Yeah, we're on Instagram, Mocco Wrestling Academy, Facebook. You could call American Top Team headquarters in Coconut Creek. They'll if you don't get Katie, my wife, she manages the club. They'll refer her to you or you to her. We practice Monday and Wednesday night at 5:30 to 7. You could drop in anytime. As soon as the high school season's over, it'll be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And yeah, we have private lessons, we have classes. It's been a lot of fun. Looking forward to seeing anybody that wants on the mat.
You mentioned the matriarch of the family, Katie,
Yeah.
and a big component of Mocco Wrestling as well. You also have daughters, and the daughters are working out too. So your daughters' names and their ages.
It's Mary, she's 10, Anna is 7, and Julia is 2. But Mary and Anna wrestle.
I was going to say, might we see them out there in tournaments or maybe in school at some point?
They haven't started competing yet, so we're just kind of playing it by ear. I think they will soon. You know, this year they've seemed more interested in wrestling than they had in the past. So
Do you think it's because they're watching their brothers, or it's just them getting out training and doing it?
I think it is. I think it has something to do with it. It's a big part of our lives. You know, whether we're practicing in here or whether at competitions that they're in. My daughter's a soccer player too, and she really enjoys that. So that's why she really hadn't competed. She plays soccer and travel soccer.
The 10-year-old,
Yes.
Mary?
Yeah.
Is she over at charter school or not yet?
She's not yet.
Close and short. They have good girls soccer over there. I'm just
Yeah.
throwing that out there.
Yeah,
So
really good.
you know that.
She'll probably finish at Riverglades and then go with the boys.
And do they go to any of the MMA fights? Do you ever take any of the
I took them to
kids?
some regional fights, but they haven't gone any far off fight. You know,
Is
you have
that
to
too
fight.
also because you're so busy at those fights, or it just hasn't worked out to take them yet?
Honestly, like they have their competitions, you know. And
They have a lot of time
usually
doing
it's, you know, being juggled from one to the other. You know, they both like to fish too and hunt. So like when we do have free time, that's usually what we're doing.
Oh, fishing and hunting too. All right. So what biggest fish caught? Anybody?
I don't remember what the biggest
Was it a
one
bass or was it something else? Was it a
I don't remember.
That's a big fish.
Yeah, I caught a
Sailfish.
Sailfish.
you going out in the ocean?
Yeah.
And
We
doing
fish the
that and
beach
all
a
deep
lot.
sea
Yeah.
and all. That's cool. Been down to Key West?
Yes. We're not Key West, but we like to go down to Marada and
Island
fish the
Marada.
bridges down there.
That's awesome. Oh,
He
it's
did
a great place
they
to
do a
do
lot of
that.
fresh water too. He's got a bunch of salmon, caught a bunch of salmon in upstate New York last year. He did too. You know.
Yeah, fishing's great. So it's relaxing, and it's fun, and it's cool too, and especially down here in South Florida and all. That's great, and all to go out like that. All right. Mocco Wrestling family, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
the time.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.